Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 1. That's right. It's a new season. And to celebrate, we're going to deploy the garrison of wills that we have on board. So, Mr. Will Pagani, this is your first time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's genuinely a pleasure. And second time, after the second time, Shick, it becomes a pest, not a guest, just so you're aware.
Oh,
But, you know,
darn. That was really quick. That was really fast. That's a fast turnaround.
You look, I mean, it's back to
from-
back. It counts for double, but we sneaked an episode in just in time, so you're not back to back. You're not a full-fledged podcast member yet, but you know, keep trying. You'll make it
fair.
eventually.
I look forward to getting my official shirt and my fan letter. You know,
I mean, I've got lots of fan mail for you, but I keep that in my personal Google Drive. It's fine, just to make you
I
more
will
uncomfortable.
accept that. Oh no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I will accept such things.
So I'm going to have to jump right in because we are on a hard stop for you guys. I know it's going to be a busy time because it's been a huge few weeks for you, right? We had the Adepticon roadmap, which it's a big tentpole for you with mini Stravaganza. Those are your two big tentpoles every year. That went really well. We spoke there. And how does it feel now that you've had that and your big stuff from yesterday, the April 15th new edition? You said it so many times, I'm just going to roll with it now.
Good. Oh, you can. It's okay. It's not a dirty word anymore. Like, we're there. We are officially in a new edition. So, I mean, it feels good, right? It's exciting to be here. It's still a weird kind of coming soon bag, I think, overall, because we've released everything. The rules are out there. The new edition is in everyone's hands, for better or worse, really, when it comes down to it. But like, we're still a few months out from really seeing all the new products that go along with it because of how these timelines and schedules work. So on the one hand, it feels like it's done, but then on the other hand, it feels like we still have quite a bit of mileage to go before we're really there. So it's a very strange middle ground, which I know the community in general has been feeling for a while now, and we really appreciate everyone taking that time and having patience as we go through this really monumental process to bring the game to this new foundation that's going to launch it into the next 10 years or more before we hit another new edition. I don't know, we'll see. There's definitely gonna be another one. You never stop the new editions, but I'm really happy with where we're starting, and the fact that we're finally there is very exciting. And we've got a lot of really cool things planned for the future now that we get to start talking about, not quite as early as we did before, about all the cool new things. So as we mentioned at Adepticon, that's a really exciting moment too, to be able to have surprises and to maybe not have quite as far forward looking of a roadmap. So.
No, I'm so professional. I definitely wasn't wearing my headphones backwards there. Don't we, Reddit? This is why we don't normally do video, folks, because Chris is a moron. I was like, what's the volume? It's a bit loud there. Okay. I love this. It's great. It's been so long. I also love the time difference. It makes me a lot more loose and tired, so it's great. So now I'm going to completely ignore shit. Pagani, this one's for you, because I feel you on this one. So one of the things that really stood out yesterday was how excited you were about the language updates. As someone who's been a judge for Legion, and we'll just call them other games now, at a high level, I appreciate that focus on using words to mean what those words mean. You know, it's nice. I appreciate it awfully much. I've seen efforts like this before, especially under FFG's leadership with both Legion and X-Wing at the time. And then over that time, it's really hard to maintain that language, especially under FFG's model. The people and the design teams change and come in, and you kind of lose that clarity of language. Is it something you anticipate as being a challenge for Legion going forwards, or have you got systems in place already?
We definitely have systems in place already. So we have fully fleshed out style guides for all of the different games that have actually now been mostly consistent. I don't know what the word for that
Made
is.
more
Made
consistent.
consistent? Yeah. So all of the games are now using very, very, very similar language and all that kind of stuff. So all the developers that cross between the different games can just write rules, and then it works for everything. So that is one of the big pushes with all of this was getting it all to start using the same terms, start using all those things, so that all the developers writing rules, hopefully we'll have less typos, we'll have less issues. Everyone will be used to be like bolding phase names, things like that. So all of that is a big thing, and it was a big push over the past year and a half or so to kind of get everything consistent. Will be
Yeah.
consistent. Did I don't know? It's not a word.
I feel like
Roll with it.
it just
I'm
has
glad that this is what we're getting out of our developer here.
Yes, we've done it.
The guy
words on
who's
the
supposed to write technical language and his
I-
struggles with language in general.
I use words
It's really
good.
just words.
This is how you know he's good at his job. I can't use headphones, and I do this all the time. Pagani can't use words. It's okay. This is just
That's
how
right.
we roll, right? This is our downtime. We don't have to be good at our jobs right now. Oh.
writing documentation from my professional life, it sucks. It's miserable, and it's not sexy. But it is absolutely necessary for a good foundation. And so I really want our listeners to understand, yes, there's a lot of work that went into this. Like they're being modest about how much work it takes to rebuild the structure and foundation of language and documentation. It's like there's people like, oh, there's not a lot in here. Like, no, you have no idea. Like the back end is huge for these types of things.
So we do full reads where we sit down with whatever it is that's about to go to print, and we just read the whole thing word for word out loud in a room, the whole development team. And then we're like, well, hold on, that sounded weird. This did this. And we do this for all of our products. And I think the Legion rulebook one took like 7 8-hour days.
Yeah.
Just the rule book, right? Like,
Sure.
was insane. And at the end of each one of those 8-hour days, your brain is just turned to goop because you're like,
Yep.
I got to sit here and think about everything. Where do the commas go? What are the words we're using? Are the terms correct? All this kind of stuff. And it's that rule book is not a small rule book. So it took a very long time, and it was a monumental effort by the team.
Yeah. You did make it smaller. I mean, it's a page smaller than the last one.
Yes, one update at a time. We remove each page, Shick. There we go. There's my goal.
Hey.
1 page.
I mean, that just means I have to make you rewrite the rules 20 more times, right? And then we'll get down to a nice consolidated like little rule book.
Please no.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was that building the foundations for the future. And that rule book is a great foundation now to move on from. There's been obviously a lot of buzz for the starter sets, the custom commanders, especially from us, how they might connect to a campaign structure that you teased. We really appreciated the exclusive on that one. It struck a chord with everybody in our circles, and it's something that a lot of players are now excited for. Presumably, it'll tie into some kind of OP support that's tied into a launch of those starter boxes. Potentially will be like slow grow elements. I know that on our last show I floated some like potential keyword driven advancements and stuff like that. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the campaign framework, or how you think that the play progression is going to go into this new era?
Yeah, I mean, this is all you. You're the one in the rules, Doc.
Sure.
I apparently opened the floodgates, so you feel free. We're among friends. This isn't being recorded.
No? Okay. Well, as long as it's not being recorded. No, the plan is to have this out either with the core set launch or shortly afterwards. And I don't want to get into too many details, but the short of it is there are unit progression elements, character progression elements like your commanders and stuff. And it is focused around you telling your individual story and your commander's story as they move through a campaign. And the goal of this is to essentially create an ever expanding narrative around whatever it is you want to be doing. So there is no necessary end point. You can kind of keep playing for as long as you want, keep leveling stuff up, keep recruiting new units, doing all this kind of stuff. So it is very narrative in nature, and we got a lot of plans for it. So it does
Cool.
involve new keywords, things like that, and all that good stuff.
Yay, more campaigny stuff. So excited.
More stuff.
Yeah, I
Is-
think one of the interesting notes to point out is that, like many campaigns, you can get your group of players together and you can play it together, right? And set your own parameters on how many weeks are we going to do it? Are we going to do it forever? Anything like that. But the intention is that also you, as Pagani said, it is an individual system. So if you want to take it to a game night at your store and you don't have an organized group doing it, you can still utilize those rules, those progression systems by just letting your opponent know, hey, I'm using this system. Are you cool with that? They should be, because it's not really designed to break or overpower anything. And then you can kind of continually tell your story even outside of a group dynamic, which is one of the biggest struggles with campaigns in general, is that you have to get people together and then you have to kind of commit to it. Our goal is our goal is really to provide a framework for that, but then Pagani and the team took it a step further and they came up with kind of ideas and balance points that allow you to play it just on your own with normal games, right? You don't have to play campaign games. You can just implement it into your pickup game experience with your opponent's kind of consent.
Yeah,
So
meaning that both players do not have to be playing in the same campaign. They could be playing different campaigns. They could be at different points in their different campaign journeys, things like that. One person could be in, one person could not be in. If both players are not in, then I guess it's not a campaign game. But
doesn't really matter, right? That's just, we call that just Legion,
right?
How
It's just a
dare they?
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we bring out the big guns? I did tell Shick that I couldn't protect him from all of the horrible, mean questions when we did the 2-person interview.
Oh, no.
So, shall we get into a weeds with a big one? We're gonna do it. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So, big breath. Give everyone a moment. Palpatine and the Royal Guards. They've been, for lack of a better word, squatted. In Star Wars, we all know that nothing's ever really gone. But just to get ahead of speculation a little bit, if I book a flight out to Montana to see Alan, and I decide to, just run Palpatine and my Royal Guard, just using the rolled cards, do I have to kind of look over my shoulder for the two of you or LFL come in to kick the door in?
well, you see, what's going to happen is when you come back to the country, you have to go through this thing called U.S. Customs. And they actually know to check all bags for any contraband, Palpatines or Royal Imperial Guard. So,
man,
we don't even have to do anything. We've got that taken care of.
It's all right. You could borrow mine. We can still make it happen.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
So yeah, I mean, as far as what you do on your tabletops with your buddies, right? It's always been the same mantra, is that there are certainly rules that still exist for them if you want to use those. No one's going to come to your house. We don't have a contract with the Pinkertons. Like, it's all good.
I mean, no gaming company would, right? Sorry. But a bit political. It's okay. I'll blur out those cameras. No reactions is fine. So, jokes aside, I can't imagine that was an easy decision to make. And I'm sure there are a lot of stakeholders and partners involved in those conversations. So without making Simone too mad, can you talk a little bit more about what those processes look like behind the scenes? What kind of factors go into deciding just which units in general carry forwards and which don't?
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to it when it comes to what we do, right? Normally, there's one side, which, as you use the term squatted, right? If you're an old hat at war games, you know where that term comes from. But editions in general, often in order to set the game up to grow for whatever reason, sometimes it's production related, right? Like the tool has burned out and it's just not worth remaking because the sales aren't there for it because it is a business. That can be a reason. There can be a reason where it's like looking at where the developers want to take the game and what rules are coming and all that. They may say it's better to prune this branch so that we can see better growth in the future from other things that we have in the works. And then there's also the question, like with us, everything that we do is in partnership with our fine friends at LFL, right? We are creating a game in their setting, in their IP. And we talk about, getting things approved through licensing and working with them to make decisions. We had a couple of like funny stories about the customizable commanders and, spider legs and new lightsaber styles and things like that. So we work directly with them in partnership on all of the things that happen in the game. And they have obviously a very big stake in the decisions that are being made across all of the different partners that they have that are making products. And those things, much like game development or anything else, right? Their take, the Star Wars mythology, the story, all of that is an ever-changing thing. So just like we as game developers might look at something and say, well, we're not really sure that this thing that happened in the past can carry us forward into the future that we envision or we want. LFL can do this, like has the same discussions, has the same thoughts about things in terms of their story, right? A great example of this is when, they were acquired by Disney and the decision to create the division between canon and legends happened, right? So the EU became legends. It still exists, but it's not necessarily directly tied into the current storyline. And they did that in order to open up opportunities to tell the stories that they wanted to and to be able to be more creative and flexible and all those things. So that process is always ongoing, right? And the reality of the situation is, is that none of those decisions are ever taken lightly. There's always a lot of discussion and, analysis of, is this right for X, Y, or Z? Are there ways to go about it in a different way? What kind of wiggle room is there? What can we do in lieu of that? Based on these different decisions, right? And hopefully together we come to a consensus. But at the end of the day, it is LFL's final call, right? So it is our job as stewards of the Star Wars IP and the incredible weight and responsibility that has been blessed upon us with that to make sure that we are always doing right by our partners at LFL. And that, really is what it comes down to. And so it's not just one decision, right? There's absolutely a discussion and kind of a coming together of minds, but there are a lot of different tensions saying, well, we need this to happen, or we want this to happen, or we have to have this happen. And understanding where you can go with those things and then when you need to kind of give or take is a really important part of it. And at the end of the day, we did everything we could minimize the impact on players because we've all been there, right? Like you can see the shelf of miniatures and stuff behind me, behind Pagani, right? We understand the amount of energy and effort and passion that gets put into each and every miniature that you paint and that you get to play with and all of that. And then of course on top of it, removing options from different factions is never a wonderful feeling. And that also factors into it. So we did everything we could to try to find acceptable places to make sure that the least amount of value from players was lost.
Yeah.
That meant that in all of the circumstances, except for the Royal Guard and Palpatine, we were able to find alternate official uses for them in the game. Those two obviously are not going to be making the journey into the new edition in any way, shape, or form. That doesn't stop anyone who has them from doing whatever they want with them on their tabletops. But sometimes those are the prices you pay in order to get to the next phase of a game.
Yeah.
And one of the considerations that we had, right, and we've mentioned this or like kind of nodded to it a little bit, is the idea that we understand that the disappearance of those things has left some gaps, has maybe removed some play patterns or player opportunities in the game. But we know what is missing, and we are working to make sure that those things get reintroduced in various ways going forward. there is some additional design space that opens up when you don't always have to consider, previous things that already exist. That's a minor kind of benefit in this case, but it does exist, right? So maybe there's opportunities that we wouldn't have had if the situation was different. That's not really here or there, though. The reality of the situation being like we know where we had to end up, and now we are developing forward with that knowledge in mind and working to make sure that everything shakes out in the end in the most player forward and positive game fashion as that we can. But
Yeah.
I think
Well, I know
that's
on Grey Squadron Gaming, you mentioned obviously Tarkin and pull strings being a potential, and then like as a kind of bookend to this batch of hard questions, Alan's got more for you later. We've got a nice sandwich method coming. It's going to be great. I won't use the correct name because this one is a PG-13 podcast. But a correct name for that sandwich, folks, is a poop sandwich. So the bookend for it was obviously we have the customizable commanders and operatives coming. Do you see those as options for the older models to be potential stand-ins or proxies? And is there any upcoming doctrines or builds that you think would fit with them?
I mean, there's a lot of options when it comes to it. So again, as far as like, I think you could, right? It kind of comes down to, I think it comes down to how persnickety you are about matching what was. But if you just want something that feels thematically close or as your interpretation of it, I think it's certainly very, very possible to do. Just because I think Pagani pointed out that in the Battle Force documents, they have all of the different doctrines laid out now. So you've seen how many options there are going to be. You don't know what they do yet, but you can see how many there are. So I mean, I would be shocked, really shocked, if you couldn't, imagine up your own version of characters or things that you feel like are missing now.
It's weird. My commander really likes wearing red, and he has this cool like helmet,
and he has this
a
crazy
stick, and a
helmet.
blaster.
I mean, you could even give them
weird.
funky names like Kirkaros and Karnar Jax, but we'll just never talk about those again. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it is a hobby game, right? We come back to this all the time. It's absolutely a hobby game. You should be putting your own passion and ideas into it. Obviously, if you're playing in official events, there are just regulations that go along with that. But we're not policing every store. We're not policing every kitchen table. We're not worrying about game clubs. Like, if you're having fun and enjoying the system and the game and the way that you enjoy it, that's good enough, right? I think that is exactly what we're trying to do every day we go to work.
I'm really excited for the custom operative box, which is obviously going to be a Royal Guard, where I get to build them with the whip swords and all of the cool options, and they can have like companion rules. And if you need any help, I say I'm open for contracting work. Just let me know.
Hey, you've got the vision already, so like, I mean, Pagani will be in touch.
When it's a unit, you can't do that. Now that we're not a unit, we can do what we want, right? So much scope.
True.
Okay.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah. Like I said, I did want to kind of get that one in there. It was the big reactions. Obviously, I'm sure you guys expected it from the streams, but you kind of touched on our next topic already, so it's a seamless flow. We're going to kind of go over some of the competitive play and OP stuff. I know Alan had some questions he wanted to hit you with now, so over to you, my friend.
Okay. Well, I just had some questions on OP because some of the stuff didn't seem to get updated. Like our Galactic Conquest rules are still from January. And I'm sure, like, you've already got a massive undertaking, so it's understandable that let's get the core game going, because you've expressed in previous interviews like the core game of Legion is this in the CRB playing on the kitchen table, whereas the OP Galactic Conquest is all these are an additional rule set on top of that. I know Pagani has mentioned that it's like, hey, OP is not quote, standard Legion. Standard Legion is you play with your buddies, you play 5 rounds. Whereas, you've got time limits and all these other things like that, constraints playing at a tournament. So I'm just curious, if there's any timeline or insight as to when those will be updated. There's a couple of docs in there that didn't get touched, and I'm just curious if those are on your radar or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So the plan for that is sort of before the next season begins, which should be in the next couple months.
Sweet.
So the next OP season will kick off GT-wise in June, so you should expect that those documents will be up either at the start of June or slightly before.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know.
Most.
There may not be changes.
Sure.
I don't know.
There was a couple rumblings.
There's a lot of not like within and at mentions in there, so we wanted to make sure you were aware, because I know it would bug you if someone's asked what at meant.
True. He'd be like, curses. Yeah, so I think they have a language pass. I know that there's a couple other things that Jeremy is planning on implementing for the GT season. That'll be a little different. So that all should be coming out soon. But as Pagani mentioned, it's usually timed around that new OP thing. And most years we wouldn't have a massive, edition drop in April right after.
Sure.
Right after the thing.
Right after
so usually it works
OP
out,
event.
but this year you're right, it's a little different.
Yeah. It's just curious because we were looking at some of the docs and Dangerous Environment still has that cursed at keyword. And then also relating to that, special operations is obviously you guys have been super busy with mainline, but is that going to be getting a second look or shuffled away?
Yep. Yeah, special operations will get updated, and it will also be updated with some new squads, probably closer towards the end of the year. So,
yeah,
but there might be a little bit of time before that language gets updated.
Sure,
just to go along
understandably.
with that.
Understandably, I tried it out last year at Adepticon, and it was fun. And then I ran into a situation that I just auto lost on turn 1. It's like, well, they said it was still in development, so it's not finished yet. So
just
wait till it's finished.
Was that the one?
Well, so at home I played a vehicle scenario. There's another one where you just have to basically get a touchdown. I don't remember which one it was.
It was the central objective, and it was a terrain element that kind of skewed the game as well. That blocked line of sight from the middle, as I recall.
No. So he had to it was a transmitting. He had to send the transmissions, and he got a free move, and then he double moved, and at the end, middle of turn 1, he had delivered his transmitter, and then the game was over. And it's like, ooh,
get your specialist on there, block it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there were some things, if you don't know, you don't know, but it's just it seems odd that it would be allowed to happen, but understandably,
look, man, the developer just told you get good, man. It's okay. I'm there for
That's
it.
true. That's true.
That did suspiciously seem like the statement.
Top Imperial play is just not good enough. Get good, scrub.
That's true. Yeah, I know.
Harsh.
He's used to it.
Back to the training room.
It's really a system that's built for people to customize squads and their appearance and create their own stories and that kind of thing. It's not necessarily meant to be a balanced gaming experience. Now, losing halfway through turn 1 is not the best, but we're not particularly looking for competitive things here.
No.
That's never been the goal.
Yeah,
right. And I recognize that, so it's just okay. Well, I tried it, but yeah, obviously it's not supposed to be competitive. We weren't necessarily. I mean, it was competitive in the fact that it was an organized tournament. I use quotes liberally there, but it's not competitive. It's just organized.
It's an Adepticon presents Spec Ops.
Yeah. I mean,
choosing priorities is really the only one that I would even consider balanced. in any way, shape, or form. The rest of them
Sure.
are just like, go have fun, go do something.
Yeah, and that's
So.
the general feel that everybody that I tried it with was, as well as shifting priorities. This is really good. The other ones that were asymmetric on purpose had a chance to go either way, but yes. Yeah, it's just another game mode to play with my Legion minis, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Certainly one we like to go back to from time to time, right? Being able to introduce new fun squads that are based off of thematic things and iconic units within Star Wars and stuff. As Pagani mentioned, right, it is definitely more of a specialist offshoot of the game that we don't have. I'm trying to think of like what the right term is for it, but it's a unique growth, right? Like it's just fun. We get to do some zany stuff with it. It's not a focus. Yeah, beautiful. It's not particularly like a huge focus of the design and development yet. Of course, we've been busy with other things, but I think it's one that enough people have shown interest and enjoyment with that it wouldn't surprise me if at some point we really dive in and to fully flesh it out into a real like full game mode. That may be a few years off. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Sure.
We certainly have fun when we get to mess around with it in the office. Like I know Pagani, he did the last 2 squads. Garrison is working on the new squads that are going to be coming out later this year, just for some fun updates to it.
So
pretty cool. I mean, maybe you could come up with a squad that uses some, just random court guards or something.
Yeah, maybe
royal guards. I don't know.
No. I do have more OP stuff for you though. So weekly play kits. Obviously, I feel like the Hondo and Weekways kind of took a little bit of the steam out of those sales. I've not seen too many people talking about the weekly plays, the alternate arts, and how cool all of those are. So anything you want to go into on that? This is more of a Jeremy-led thing. It did tell me that I wasn't allowed to get Jeremy onto a podcast because he'd never be allowed. But he told me verbatim, I like my job and would like to keep it. So he's not going to come on a podcast.
That's a very Jeremy answer. So weekly play kits, obviously a pretty cool new initiative from us. As I mentioned, it was based off of weekly play kits that Fantasy Flight Games, our sister studio at Asmodee, was doing for Star Wars Unlimited. And I thought it was a really cool idea and a way to promote in-store gaming, right? To back every week, do these really simple things and get rewarded in a fun way that it's not just like you get a thing, right? You also create this secondary community engagement where you can trade cards, you can show off your collections, you can, you get to catch them all, as it were, to steal from a different IP, and so we just thought that was really neat. And then what it really allowed us to do was we had an excuse to make some really awesome, unique art. With the gold and black art pieces that were done with one artist that Preston found and worked with, and then our graphic design team got to dive in really deep into a lot of the different opportunities and options for making really cool cards. Like a lot of us in the studio are also TCG players or past TCG players and things like that. So we've all seen really cool card treatments, and we've gotten our secret rares and our super secret rares and all of that kind of stuff, and been like, yeah, this card's amazing. Like just visually, it's cool. I don't even care if it's good or not. It just looks amazing. And so this gave us an opportunity to kind of do that with Legion, and we thought that would be, if it was exciting to us. Usually we feel like if it's exciting to us, it'll be exciting to some number of people in the community. That's kind of the gauge, right? And so we just kind of dove in, and then Pagani you're actually talking to the right guy, because Pagani made he did all the math on the distribution system. I told him how many, just how many different rarities of cards we wanted, and how many cards he had to play with, and he created the whole system to kind of work over the course of the thing. And so we're pretty excited about it, and the idea of having like refreshing seasons so players can chase the cards for a little bit and then a new set comes out. Ideally, that becomes a thing that just really invigorates the store level and gives players a reason to come back week after week after week. And at the end of it, they have this really cool binder of all these, fancy cards that run the gamut from just your standard card with a bit of a holographic foil treatment to this rare art card that has like all of the bells and whistles on, and there's only 2 per case, so things like that.
Come on, Pagani, what's my chase card? What do I have to hunt for?
Oh, man. So those black and gold cards come in several different rarities. And last I heard, which may have changed, there's ones that are like hot glossed and gold foil. And when I say foil, I mean actual like foil, not holographic.
Yeah.
And that's like the highest tier one. And
Ooh.
let me tell you, they look so good. They look so good. They are a pure collector's item though, right? They're not like there's no stat difference, right? Like your Darth Vader doesn't get +1 dice or anything, right? Like it's crazy. So they're the same cards, so you don't have to worry about that from a chase rare perspective, but you do get the like, oh my gosh, we did this. And then if I remember correctly, a lot of them have matching command cards for those units as well. I don't think it's all the command cards or anything, but they have matching command cards in that same style. So if you really want to try to like bling out your Luke Skywalker, you can get the card, you can get his command cards, you can then presumably in the future get the generic.
Just going to let you know, it's an
well.
exclusive. We didn't know about Luke, but who could have seen that one coming? Luke Skywalker's
yeah.
gonna.
Why would we ever do that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think we showed Lord Maul,
Maul Arrival.
Sabine. Yeah.
Sabine, Explosive Artist, Darth Vader, The Emperor's Apprentice, and then Phantom Menace command card. So any more you want to throw on us, I'm happy to add to my little need list already.
I think, art pieces that we've done, there's a Lando one, which is gorgeous and usually is the one that everyone internally has oohed and awed over the most. There's the one for Boba, which is, it's the cape turns into the Millennium Falcon, if I remember the art correctly. So like, it's really good. It's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure that one was showed at the Gamma trade show.
Yeah, I think
that art piece was from. Cool. Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's a Boba Fett. There's a Luke, obviously, Commander Luke. And there's a bunch of others that have been done too. So, like it's been a really fun project to work on, and hopefully, the first set goes super well. The second set sees players loving it as well, and we get to continue on with making cool stuff. But as Pagani said, right, it really is just gamer bling. It's just there to be cool, and our goal was, knowing that it's a faction game, we wanted to make sure that even if you got something that wasn't for your army, it was just such a cool Star Wars thing. You're like, I'm happy I have this, right? So very much leaning into the trading card aspect of, even if you don't play Empire, we all love Darth Vader. So if you get a super, super rare, the end all be all chase piece for Darth Vader, you're like, I'm so happy I got this. It doesn't matter that I'll never use it on the table. It's just an amazing thing to have. And so that was kind of the approach that we took with it, right? And then, like I said, I think one of the really neat things is that, as Pagani said, there are sets within each box. So if you do have a favorite commander and they are featured in that set, you can trade with your friends and you can do that whole trading card game kind of idea where it's like, okay, well, you want this one and I want that one, let's swap. And we can complete our sets that way as well.
Yeah, I've got I've got a fun game we can play now, given that I listened to the Grey Squadron gaming interview, and I seem to recall a gauntlet being thrown about us having no ideas. Okay.
No idea.
So one of the things you commented on when you've been a listener of a podcast in the past is we're pretty astute when it comes to, design processes, production. And I believe you did confirm that the Q3 2026 release of Roguecast is actually part of the box with Lord Morg, Saxon and Roguecast in there. seems a pretty small box of just putting those 3 in,
Okay.
and I'm just at
I
the
like
point
where
in the
this is going.
I'm right at the bit of the Clone Wars right now, where Maul's
Mm-hmm.
just been rescued by Pre Vizsla, and they're establishing the Shadow Collective. He's just gone and he's like literally force choking some of the Black Suns as we speak. And you know who else is there? His brother's there, right?
Oh, that yellow one, yeah. Whatever
Savage
his name
Opress.
is.
That would be
Savage
Savage
Opress.
Opress would be. I mean, it would fit in a couple of places. It could be in Shadow Collective. There's potential to put in with Ventress. And they're going to
It would be
assassinate. There's so
interesting.
many. I mean, that would be a really useful model to just drop into a box.
Yeah.
There's probably space on that die for it.
Hmm.
I mean, 4 or 5 models is where I get just your consistency of your other packs.
It's usually a pretty good number when you're looking at filling out a tool. Now, the thing you have to ask yourself though is that it's just a reissue, so they're already all in plastic. So we're
Yeah.
probably not going to retool it. So would that be worth it? I don't know, because now we're just talking about a single additional tool.
But then you could just
If we're playing the production
2.
game,
Well, yeah, I get it. But
we're playing the production game.
Yeah.
If we're not resculpting, so we don't necessarily have to reissue a new tool. Should we go to 4? I don't know.
Well,
that's a good question. It's worth talking to Brandon, our margin guy, to be like, run the numbers on this for me.
So Gar Saxon's on a mini sprue with a sprue and a half. Rockcast is a tiny sprue. Maul is a standard size single character sprue. I think I would say there's margin there. I would say there's space in there to at least go to 4. 5 might be pushing it for that box, but I think 4 would be a nice fit. Personally, if I rule the world.
Yeah, if you ruled the world. I mean, once you do a single, like once you cut that steel block, the difference between 1 character on a frame and 2 characters on the frame is almost meaningless. Depending on how big the characters are and things like that, right? Like, I mean, this is fun. We should just do this all the time. It should just be like, let's analyze what could be on a tool. I'm sure people are fascinated by it.
Yeah.
I would say counterpoint.
I like the swing.
Counterpoint, though, Chris, is that we're also getting the re-release of Commander Cody with the other 2, and there's only 3 characters in that box.
Yeah,
but
that's tooled all together, right?
Yep.
Cody,
that's a reissue, so that frame was all together.
Oh, that is a reissue. Yeah, that's right.
See?
Okay.
You know what
I
else
have
you could
no idea what I'm talking about.
Because, as we've discussed in the past, Shick, I'm a huge Battle Force fan. Literally the reason I'm back playing Legion. You could, if you really wanted to, force people to buy Mother Talzin in that box as well, because you get Maul, Talzin, and Savage. And then you just throw in those Night Sisters as a separate box, and you've got Battle Force, you've got Night Sisters. It's like the scripts write themselves, right? It's just printing money.
It lines up.
Just because as well, Gungans. You could put a Gungan on there
with Mother Talzin. I don't think that tracks.
No, I just wanted to push it back a year.
Oh, gotcha. Well, my
get
rule
him out of here.
Now is that
get him
every
out.
time somebody says Gungans, it goes back a year. So now you've attributed to that push.
Just do the Beetlejuice, like Gungans. 3 more years. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Since we're playing games, how mad do you think people would be if we released the Naboo security force and no Gungans? Like, it was just like, Naboo's coming, and everyone's like, Gungans, and then it's just Captain Pancakes or Panaka and
that would be
like security guys.
Can we get the
Battle Forcing up and everything? Yeah, you get to play Republic. You've got Padme and these Corps units, and that's it. No, you're done.
We show the image of the planet Naboo, and we're like, finally. And then the video fades to black, and in comes just all the humans. It's all the human Nabooians, Pretty sure that would probably get me run out on a rail at Adepticon, but it might be worth it because a good way to go out. It would be funny. Blaze of glory.
So
I don't think you're like crazy, right? We have a new art piece that features 1 Savage. But I would also say that if you're really thinking about it in that way, you might look at things, for instance, like soft plastic that needs to get moved into hard plastic. That's also a character. What fits there? There's a
Yeah.
lot of ways to play the game and make guesses, but
Yeah.
I feel very confident in my gauntlet being thrown that the big
It's fine.
announcements
I'll
for
take
next year.
Bosk in the pack as well. Then it's fine. I'll have Savage and
Okay,
Bosk.
good.
I'll allow. I mean,
Bosk and Bosk.
the Bosk model. I think I've painted 6 or 7 times for Legion, and I've enjoyed
Oh, he's
painting it every time. It's one of
an
the
incredible.
yeah.
Yeah. He's an incredible mini to paint. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something about the lizard skin. It's just great.
Yeah. So I've got you've got me now. You've got me hooked in on Bosk talk. Do you paint him green or do you paint him brown?
He is not green. He is a green brown, and I know this specifically because of the conversations that we've had with LFL and getting the paint approved.
Yeah.
So if you think he's green, he's not. He is much more of a green, brown green is the better way to put it, because brown is the primary color. Yellow, brown, green.
I can only talk in
ever...
GW colors, but it's brown Venethonian camo shade over the top. He's not green with a Devlin mud over the top.
Correct. Yes. That is.
Is it even Devlin mud? I have no idea. Anyway,
I mean, even go so far as to say like an Everland sunset, maybe with like a camo shade over the top, depending on how those two react with each other.
Yeah.
It's a very yellow, brown, green. It's interesting.
So, seeing as I've pitched to get GW paints now, I'm going to let you open out into the new Express, not Express, that's Vallejo, the new AMG partnership with Pro Acryl and all of that.
Yeah.
How much use have you had out of those so far? Did your studio just go crazy? Everyone painting up new Star Wars minis?
So, the first time, all of us except for Dallas Kemp, who is the paint, like he's the smog version for paints. Dallas, I mean, he worked super closely with the folks at Monument to develop the paint colors, to find them. I mean, the same way they work with their signature series folks, it's really how the AMP paints kind of work out as well. So he did all of that. So he really was the only person in the studio who has had the paints for a long period of time. And so it wasn't until the launch at Adepticon that a few of us were able to get our own copies of them. So I have mine over on my shelf, and we've got a couple in the studio. So I have not had a chance to really like use them a ton, but I'm very happy with everything that he threw into the line. It's a really nice addition, and really helps. Like there's did a lot of specific colors for what we do, right? So there are colors that he pulled that are like directly from prop colors from Star Wars, to help like match those things. And then of course there's some Marvel colors in there as well. And, some different things. So I was really excited for it. But yeah, no, they're as new to us as they are to everybody out there for the most part, because of just how the timelines worked and when they got released and everything. But it was a wonderful partnership. I'm excited to explore more. I know they've already cooked up like another 100 colors. They just can't be stopped. Alice and Jason, they go nuts, and it's really fun to watch them like get so excited over paints.
Well, we're coming towards our deadline a little bit, and Shick's spoken a lot, so I have a Pagani question. I'll let you see if you can guess who instructed me to ask this one, because I did put out the feelers for some questions for you guys. Why do you hate shoes?
Okay, hold on. It's not shoes, it's socks specifically. I don't know. I just have sweaty feet. This is a weird.
You just gotta let him breathe. So
yeah,
we're on camera, so no pressure. But is this some kind of Hobbit feet situation you've got going on, or is it just like just a general despise for socks now? Is an ankle sock okay?
No, well, I mean, if I have to pick a sock, it's an ankle sock.
Yeah,
like you got it right. But no, I don't know. I just find it very uncomfortable. And when Shick asked me to join the studio, my first comment back to you, Shick, was if I have to wear shoes, I'm out.
True. It was just
It was like,
I was
no,
the that was the only negotiating point. That was it. There was nothing else. It was just you can't make me wear shoes. And I was like, I don't think there's an Asmodee rule about shoes, so you're good. I mean, you have to have
Here we are.
footwear, but we don't work in a warehouse, so closed-toed shoes are not required.
I've just seen the you son of a bitch I'm in meme now. No shoes.
And for the last 6 years, there's not been a single shoe on that man's foot unless he's working a show because the requirements are closed-toed for worker safety. And we hear it every time, which is why we don't bring him very many places because
And immediately when my shift's over, I'll go back to my room and change and come back.
Well,
you only get the
from
hard-hitting
the
questions.
from the floor of Adepticon, thank you for your service.
exactly.
Okay. Have you got
Oh,
any closing questions, Alan? I feel like we've had a bit of an easy run. If you want to give any hard ones, it's okay.
Hit
Well,
us.
okay.
Like, we're here.
We're gonna get one last slug on the way out. So I have to, flaunt my privilege at least once here. As the champion of the Empire, I'm expecting great things for your watch list on the Empire. I have some locals that are, understandably disappointed, but I think it's fair to say that Empire is in a rough place. But I'm looking forward to see what comes from that. Some stealth updates. A lot of people were very confused about the range troopers getting a 10-point bump. You can comment on that if you like or not, but just what can you give us to reassure my friends of the Empire?
I feel like that could have been delivered in a Seinfeld-esque manner. 10-point bump for range troopers?
Maybe.
What's up with that?
Sure.
What I can say is we have things in testing, right?
Right.
These things are not going to be a knee-jerk reaction, and we've talked about this in some of the other podcasts. So other listeners, go listen to other podcasts if you want a deep dive here. But I can give you all the top level of sort of what's going on in the background. We had a situation at the last November where we did the last points update, right? We had what we kind of call an emergency situation where Republic and a few other things were just kind of way over the line, right?
100%.
And we went quickly on that, and it worked out for the most part.
Sure did.
Right?
Yeah, I
So,
think they're back where they should be. I agree.
Every time something like that happens, it is dangerous, right? You're rolling the dice. Do you mess something up? Do you completely blow away an entire faction or something, right? And for Republic specifically, right, we had just finished redoing the entire faction, so we were just kind of like, this is what we think works. Let's see. And it was pretty close. It was off, but it was pretty close. And then now with the points updates, I think we're there. We are not in an emergency situation in either direction at the moment in our eyes, right? There's nothing that's like blatantly overperforming and pushing out entire factions. There's nothing blatantly underperforming and is completely awful. Like the
Right, troopers.
And I mean faction-wise.
Sure. Yeah.
Like that's a holistic faction look, right? Sure, there's going to be things that are less powerful and things that are more powerful inside of factions. There's
100%.
internal balance and there's all that kind of stuff, and that's important too. But all of the factions currently have something that can do fine or better, right?
Yeah.
And Empire is currently the bottom of the stack, and we're looking at that, right? Like we something has to be the bottom, but staying at the bottom for a significant period of time is not fun, right? Nobody has a good time with that. So that is sort of where we're at in our discussion. Well, we're well past that in our discussion because it's already been addressed, or like not addressed, but talked about and is working to be addressed in the future.
Yep.
And I know that we've said a lot about like in the future things will be better, but we do want to be slow and take our time on these updates and these kind of things so that we don't create another situation where we have to emergency anything. Right?
I mean,
Right.
At the risk of
100%.
Being a little bit overly, happy about how everything is. No one wants to be too happy at any point in their life, obviously. But I feel like that's a little bit of a disservice to what you yourselves have done in that, it's all right to look forward into the future and tell people everything will be better, but I feel like it's better today than it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. It was better 3 weeks ago than it was 6 months ago. Like it's all about continuous improvement, right? And it's easy to kind of every time we get a little bit better, as you said, something has to be the bottom, something's got to be the worst. It always has to be something that it's a worst part of something, and it's very easy for us to kind of focus on that. Yeah, and
You get both ends, right?
yeah,
Yep.
Well, and the other
things go in cycles.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing to keep in mind, right, is that to go with Pagani's like slow and measured, being considerate when we don't have an emergency situation where we have to roll the dice. It just provide a little context for timelines. The minimum amount of time to get anything approved for posting, because we, again, working with our partners at LFL, right? They review everything to make sure that what we're doing is good and solid and presenting their IP in the proper way, and we're being good stewards, is over a month. So it's a minimum of 4 weeks. It can be slightly longer depending on the thing. So if you just let's play the game that we were kind of playing with, like tooling and everything else. If at Adepticon we said there's clearly problems in Empire, we now are fully assured of all the data, and that night we somehow identified all of the things we wanted to fix, we're confident in making them, and had them all laid out, right, at Adepticon. Even if we were ready to go at that point with all of these changes, the timeline for licensing still wouldn't have been April 15th, right? It would be, at earliest, it would be May.
Right.
Like that, and that's so when you walk that back, right, and then you say, okay, but it also takes time to lay out changes, to change cards. Even if it's a points update document, you have to go in and make sure all the points are updated. There's a localization component to it, right? And that's on top of all the testing. This is part of the reason why we have the April and the November bumper, is because there are absolutely always going to be times where we're like, we agree that there is an issue, but we do not have the fix ready, right? And so those timelines aren't just this is when we will deliver fixes and no other time. If there are things that have to be addressed earlier, we will do that, right? We're in it for the health of the game. Those two cents are for players to be confident in the fact that adjustments, if there are some, will likely happen at those times. Like that's if we're on normal cadence and everything is working as intended, that's more than likely where those things will shake out. They're also primarily there so that we can be transparent with the community and say, these are the things we're watching, these are the things we're working on. And because what was happening previously is like, it's like when we're ready with an adjustment or we're ready with an update, we'll just release the update. But that leads to a lot of concern, a lot of like, confusion, a lot of like people just are, oh, they don't know, they're not paying attention, they don't care. And that's not true.
Pestering you in unrelated streams and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not, it's fine, right? Because people want to know that they're heard, right? They want to know that somebody's aware of the problem. And so those updates, typically, with the April 15th update being kind of a really random one based on the content that was released in it and what it meant for the, the future of the game. Like you go to the November one, that's kind of more of the normal one, which it's like, okay, we're doing this and we're going to watch this, but we didn't really have a watch list at the time because we had already presented the changes and we were really fresh into the new rebalance. I mean, that was 3 months later. And now we're a bit more than 3 months past that. And so again, it's one of those things where even if we wanted to be as rapid reactionary as possible and not worry about proper testing, and we just wanted to address it, right? Like Pagani said, we rolled the dice a little bit on the emergency updates that we did for Republic and a couple other things in that November, because those weren't fully tested, right? The timeline obviously wouldn't allow it. So we identified the issues. We said, well, this is important enough that we're just going to trust our gut. We had conversations with play testers about it. So we kind of did some fake play testing. Where it's like, these are the adjustments we're going to do. What do people think about it? And we rolled dice. And as Pagani pointed out, we got a little lucky. It's not a way to live your life if you want a really healthy and a game that's going to persist, in our view, right? Other people can have their own views on it. So that's the other part to it, right? Is it's just like there's a timeline that has to be followed with this stuff. We can't, even if we wanted to, you're still talking like at its max, we'll pretend like we can come up with ideas in 2 weeks for layout, right? To put it all into the stuff. And that's probably not even a realistic timeline unless we're making people stop the presses, like literally J. Jonah Jameson, and be like, stop the presses. Graphic design only do this, and they lay out all those.
We're basically
changes.
at November at that point anyway.
Right. I mean, it's not quite, but like it's very close, right? You're talking about at least 2 months, and so
you need time to spoil them on podcasts beforehand anyway.
That's true. We do have to give you guys content so that you can be excited.
I mean, having to make up our own content is so hard. Like,
I get it.
Yeah.
We kind of do that every day too. There's a lot of content generation around us, and it is very stressful. I wish other people just gave it to us in like some notes or something.
I've got all of those Royal Guard ones written up. I'll send them over. It's fine.
All right, perfect. Well, I can't take outside solicitations, so know that when I see that, I'm just going to delete it and we'll never talk again.
Good. Okay, I won't send it. I'll wait for you to reach out to me with a contract. It's fine.
Oh, probably a wise choice. Yes. If there's no contract involved, my hands are very legally bound in terms of how our communications will go on that.
So I did allow Shick to give us his quote for last one, which was the verge of greatness. As we do normally close on, are we blind? So do you, Pagani, have a Krennic quote that you're a fan of?
Specifically Krennic?
It has to be Krennic.
Yes.
I mean, if you want, you can give me a Wookiee quote, but that's the only alternative.
No. Ooh. I don't know if I'm well versed enough in Krennic quotes besides those ones. Deploy the Garrison?
Sir, please. Give us a we stand here in the midst of my achievement. That is apropos.
I was trying to tee you up. I was trying to tee you up for standing in your achievements, not Shick's. But
he can still do it. He can deliver the line.
We stand here amidst my achievements, not yours.
You got him.
Yeah,
there it is.
Got him.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, folks. I hope you enjoyed that.
I like how that was a question. Weakest delivery of that line ever. So we'll have discussions after this about how disappointed we all are.
Be sure not to choke on your aspirations.
There you go. Let you know that Vader's a funny guy. He's still got a sense of humor because he got a pun. He's a little pun.
He's got the dad jokes. He's a dad. It's fine.
Okay, folks. Well, we'll release him to get on to our next interview now. But thank you for your time. We very much appreciate it. I know Alan was happy to not be winning games of Legion and get to talk to you now.
Well, we're happy to come on for part 2. So just reach out. We always appreciate the chance to sit and chat. So have a wonderful time, and we'll see you on the next one.